Well, hello there, Chick Chat. We are back with Gypsy, episode 3.
Gyp 3.
Gyp 3.
She starts off in her influencer era. He's talking about taking some prenatals. And with everything Gypsy does online, people had things to say. They're very angry that she exists and is having a baby and now wants to tell people she's taking prenatals so she can profit off of those prenatals.
Yep. We also hear Gypsy actually speak on the fact that her fame isn't something that's been well earned, which I think we all agree that it's not really typical for somebody to do such a heinous act and then get this kind of celebrity where it's almost conflicting for me sometimes. I can watch her and be entertained by her, but at the same time, she did something that was so bad and she's making money off of it. And it just feels wrong in that way. But in another sense, I bet Dee Dee's proud. So it's like, I don't understand how to feel right now because
that's how Dee Dee, good point.
That's how Dee Dee was. I mean, Dee Dee was scamming everybody left and right for money. So
she was, yeah.
The apple don't fall far from that tree. So yeah. I don't know.
I think the thing about the status that she's talking about is she's definitely she's at risk to taking on a lot of opinions, just like all people that are in the public eye are. And I think it is good that she acknowledges that she's not deserving of at least the initial status that she got. I think I sometimes agree. I have a conflict of watching her and how she started. But I do also think the more we get away from her being out of jail, the more life she has that we can judge whether or not she's doing a good thing or not. So that's where I try to stay, but you can't erase somebody's past, especially when they've done something as serious as what Gypsy did. So I think that's part of why we have the justice system as well, right? People go and serve their time and, you know, are supposed to be not corrected, but at least they have paid their debt in some kind of way. So I think there's a lot to be said about people who've done things in the past that they're not proud of and have grown past those things, just like she's about to talk about in this speaking thing at San Francisco, that there does at some point have to be more to the story other than just the worst thing somebody's ever done.
I know that I'm entertained by watching her on TV, but I do also know that there's a lot of things about Gypsy. I mean, there's discrepancies in her stories a lot, especially when it comes to what happened and things like that. There's a lot of conflicting tales in her book and here and there. And a lot of times she's giving us a curated view of what she wants us to see on Lifetime. Totally. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but there's a lot of misleading stories from Gypsy. So it is hard to judge and sometimes stay impartial, but it's kind of like what we've been saying this whole time. Like, it's interesting for us to watch and comment on the show, but there's a lot of conflicting backstory and a lot of weird things that have happened too with Gypsy. That
and I guess in watching it, I think we all feel inclined and like want to judge, but we really don't have to, right? We're just watching it. She's not our friend. We don't have to support what she's doing to be talking about it or watching it. Lifetime is going to make their coin either way, whether I watch it or not. But yeah, I think I get what you're saying. It's definitely an interesting feeling, being fascinated by somebody like this. At the same time, that's kind of American culture too. I mean, we do not have celebrities who are of the highest moral and ethical standards. Most of our celebrities are wild and chaotic and do all kinds of crazy things, and in some cases have done maybe worse than Gypsy. They just haven't served their time for it and went to jail for it. So
but we on their tail, a lot of them. Anybody who's been to them Diddy parties,
including him, and you and all your friends. So yeah, it's not like she's uncommon in America. It's not like she's the only person who is quote unquote famous that has done something bad either.
Now, not all of them have offed their parents, but she's definitely not alone in some of it.
I always kind of get this weird, especially with the Menendez brothers coming up so much in the media too. I know a lot of people compare those cases, and I know there's a lot of differences in those cases, but obviously the glaring similarity is what happened between them and their parents. And I just always find it so bizarre that in general, it seems like a lot of people are more, at least tolerant of the Menendez brothers, maybe not accepting or welcoming, but they just seem more tolerant of the idea of the Menendez brothers getting out of prison and living a life.
I think because it was a different time where that actual abuse stuff wasn't allowed. And it seems like even though Gypsy has suffered through some trauma and abuse and things like that, there are a lot of people who don't even believe that Dee Dee was actually abusive to her. They just think that she was going off of the chromosome deletion. And they actually think that Gypsy literally had all these disabilities and stuff, which I'm kind of on the fence on some of those things. I know she's got the micro deletion. I don't think all of that stuff was necessary. I mean, the girl could walk and things like that.
If she is walking, talking, eating, feeding, all of that right now, I'm sure she could have done it when her body was healthier and more
Right.
flexible. None of us were there, and we always try to stay away from all of that. If she's telling the truth, and I tend to believe her when she talks about her experience in prison, if you can look at prison as an upgrade in freedom from what you were living before, then there's some kind of atrocity that was happening. The extent, I don't know. But if you felt that caged up, that unable to do that much stuff, and then you saw prison as better, again, that's what she's saying. I'm not saying I believe that, but I tend to want to believe that narrative. I think that makes sense.
Well, a lot of people don't even think Dee Dee had Munchausen by proxy, but you're saying we'll never truly know because she's not here. But also, that thing doesn't normally get diagnosed from what I've read, because people who have it don't just go in the doctor's room and be like, I think I have Munchausen by proxy. I'm doing all these crazy things to my kids. Like, it's not normally diagnosed.
Yeah. Even if it was diagnosed, you have to be willing in some way to participate in mental health treatment and intervention. If you don't have a whole lot of insight as to why this is there's just Munchausen by proxy is a deep mental health disorder. Like, there's so much that's tied into it that you don't just become self-aware and go tell a doctor I made up all these lies. That just doesn't work like that.
They usually will take either the child leaving or getting out of that in some way for people to even
or
acknowledge
like an abuse, like a CPS case or something along those lines.
Which CPS did show up there. It's just that Gypsy and Dee Dee were able to kind of get them out of there. But yeah, I think with the Menendez brothers, they did do 30 years of time. I think people do think that's quite a lot of time. Majority of their lives, especially the prime of your life, your 20s, your 30s, even your 40s. These people are in their 50s, 60s. And at this point, if they get out, I think people are more inclined for that to be okay, because people just felt like they were just so mistreated in their trial and things like that. So I do think that's the big difference between them and Gypsy, is that Gypsy wasn't mistreated in her trial. She honestly got off pretty easy for orchestrating a death. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people who hire hitmen and things like that, they serve like life sentences. So
conspiracy is just as bad as the crime itself.
Exactly. So even if she wasn't involved physically, which some people think she was, but I don't know, I wasn't there, but either way, that's what the court decided. They made some kind of deal with her, gave her 10 years. That's the court's problem. That's them. I think she probably should have done more time, because it's like hiring a hitman. You hire a hitman on somebody you mean to take out their life. So you're just as culpable in the offing of somebody as the person who did it. So usually those people get like life sentences or 20 plus years. And they did go easy on her, but I think they took her past and stuff into account. I don't really know.
I know at least in Michigan for minors, they have a thing called a Miller hearing, and they take a lot of people's personal history, social history, how they were raised, what their parents were like, all into context. Especially for minors, you can't really help your situation, and you can't really find a way out of a bad situation. So I think in those types of crimes, when children commit crimes, they should absolutely have the whole picture be looked at and judged with the crime. And I know that Gypsy was an adult when her crime was committed, but she was very much, and still almost is sometimes, very much immature.
So she is going to San Francisco to give a little speech or talk with the students about prison and her experience. So she's getting ready and packing.
It's just like all men when packing. It's literally the day that they're about to leave, and he can't find half of his pants. He doesn't know what he's going to wear. He's asking for advice on what the weather's going to be like. Like, he had no idea where they were going before that morning or something. Men are just insane.
I think they're going around October.
They didn't give us timestamps this episode. Not a single one.
I only know what time it is because of what happens later. So
what happens later?
October, the drive-by incident.
Oh, yeah.
So that happened in October. So we get to see this guy again. Her lawyer manager.
He stepped into a new role in Gypsy's life. He's become her manager. He also let us know that he cares about her as a person as well, in case anyone was wondering. So, I mean, cool. I'm glad.
Did people think he was her baby daddy at one point?
I'm sure there were rumors. I mean, all the rumors about anytime anyone has a bodyguard, a lawyer, someone who's close to them. Remember when everyone thinks Stormy is Kylie's bodyguard's baby?
At the time, she did look quite a bit, but babies do develop and change. So he lets us know that people are doing their absolute best to get Gypsy in trouble, whether that's writing letters from Texas to Nick, go to John, and then they
That's wild to me. Get a life. I mean, I know a lot of people disagree with Gypsy's life and whatever, but get a life yourself. I don't know. If Gypsy's going to do something wrong, she's going to do something wrong. She'll get herself in trouble all on her own. But to put your own self at risk, right? It has to be illegal in some way to fraudulently write a letter. And if you wrote a letter and mailed it, then that's a federal thing if it is illegal.
It probably should be, because you're really just trying to get somebody put back in jail, even if they're not doing anything. Like, Gypsy could just be sitting in her room, not moving at all. And it seems like people just want her to go right back to jail, which if you guys have a huge issue with the sentencing and stuff, like you got to take that up with the people who sentenced her and did that, especially at that time. Now it's too late. Girl's already out. She's served her sentence. Like you said, if she's going to do something wrong, she's going to do something wrong, but you don't have to make up things. Like the letter, I think, was definitely an overstep. It's one thing I think when people are, I mean, I still think this is crazy, but when people catch her like at Ken's house too much and they're like, oh, she's living at Ken's, da, da, da.
But at least they're making a legitimate report. This is fraud. This is a fraudulent letter with someone else's name sent with the intent to do harm. This is fraud. You're putting yourself at risk because you're so angry with someone that you don't even know.
And just imagine being Nick Godejohn getting that letter thinking it could be Gypsy almost. Like,
you know, he never got that letter.
Oh, he probably didn't, but it's just funny. If he did, he was like, Gyp? After all this time?
Is it you, Gyp?
No, it's not. Some psycho from Texas. So we see Gypsy asking Ken for some advice on her interview questions. It seems like she was getting real confused by these questions, the way they're worded and everything. We got to remember, Gypsy's probably at like a 3rd grade level.
I mean, she has a GED, which she got in prison, but before that, she didn't have a whole lot of education. And I mean, she doesn't utilize her academic, intelligent mind very much. That's not a dig at her. She's just a girl, you know. just
an ordinary girl. Sometimes I'm angry. I get bored.
Exactly.
That's how I feel every time I hear her talking about her fame and everything too, where she's just like, I don't want to be famous. And it's like, I'm just annoyed. It's like Hannah Montana.
I bet she really rocks out to that in her bathroom on her bad days. So at least she should. That'd be a good one.
That and Nobody's Perfect. All the Hannah Montana ones probably slap for her, but yes.
Look at them titties. Damn.
She was doing something with this outfit. I wasn't sure if she was sailing a boat or going to the strip club or going to the office with that hair like that.
I thought she was going to fix her hair. She went out on stage like that.
Yeah, she did.
Girl.
She didn't care.
Yeah, you know, this is the thing, right? If Gypsy went out there all glammed up, people would have something to say. If she went out there with her hair like a normal person, because she's an ordinary girl, I would have something to say. So, can't win.
Yeah. Dressed like a half sailor salute.
A half sailor trying to be Hillary Clinton. I liked the Hillary Clinton comment that Ken made. I thought that was hilarious and spot on. A young Hillary.
Look at her.
Oh, look, October 10th.
Yep. The incident happened on October 15th. So
okay. Did you see last year? Anderson.
Yeah.
I thought, did she do that on purpose as like a dig?
It was the guy who said it. I think he might have just been throwing it out there, hoping to catch a fish.
He caught me. He caught my. I was like, did he say Anderson? The very first time I heard it, I think I laughed. I was like,
Ryan was excited. He was like, that's my wife.
I could have swore he called ahead of time. Like, don't forget, she's still Anderson.
He probably did. Probably holding that painting's hand, like, yes. You forget that she's still an Anderson. You better call her by her government name.
Yes. And the baby, he's gonna be an Anderson too.
That's in baby Anderson.
Baby Anderson and Gypsy Anderson.
You know that when he watched this back, even just recently, he was like, "Now that's my wife.
That's my baby.
That's my wife carrying my baby." Anderson.
I bet you if someone sends him a picture of the baby, he'll be like,
he'll be like,
my baby.
Are we sure?
Oh, I know. He just makes it so easy to make fun of him, but I'm not mad at that man.
I like seeing him, honestly. I like his scenes. They give us
a little something extra. Don't you think?
I love it. You know, I think Ryan's my favorite character. Honestly, he's grown on me. They ask her a bunch of questions, mainly about her life in prison, what she went through with her. She wanted to go to school there.
She said, where do I apply?
Like, yeah, okay, Gyp.
That really had the people going. They were excited to hear about that.
I know. And so I was like, of all the questions you could ask, he was like, you got any questions? She's like, where do I apply? It's like, girl, you about to have a baby. You live in Louisiana. You ain't applying to no San Francisco City College.
I think it'd be great if she did. It doesn't seem like she's going to work anytime soon. What a nice opportunity if she could find a way to fund it. I don't know what her finances be looking like, but
she can't afford a $2,000 crib. She can't afford to go to San Francisco University.
Maybe not San Francisco, but I don't think it'd be a bad idea for her to maybe learn something.
To go to college in general would be good for her. She talked about in Kale's podcast doing cosmetology, but I just think she could do something a little less. Yeah, I don't see her as like a fashion icon or anything like that, but I'm not saying that she can't do that. I just think that those kinds of things are contingent on you working on the public, and the public, that could go one or two ways for you. You could get psychos in there that want to hurt you, and you could also get people
can make reports against your license. And
yeah.
I think, at least the way I'm seeing it, maybe you feel the same way. It seems like she's just trying to keep herself in this box of like influencer, fashion, get ready with me kind of glam person. And at the same time, I think there are a lot of parts of her that don't really actually authentically vibe with that, and it's obvious sometimes. It comes across that she's trying too hard. So I just think, don't force yourself to be in that box as an occupation when you're barely making it as an influencer this way. You're going to do that now for the rest of your life. Maybe learn about rocks for a while, see if that interests geology or with the weather.
Not the weather. Don't pull a Casey Anthony either and get into law, because that's not going to be what people want to see you in either.
That is not what we want to see, honestly. But maybe some social work. I know people would probably have a nice cackle at that. But I think social work would be good in the aspect of advocacy, possibly, like public advocacy. I think she does have a lot to say about growing up in a certain way, about changing your own story, about being empowered, about being incarcerated, all of the factors that are against you when you're incarcerated, on top of not really having a good foundation of what it looks like to live healthy before that, I think is an inspiring story that she's figuring that out. I think I'm on the path of something, but it is inspiring in a way to see her follow that path of self-discovery. She's never been an adult. She's never even been a kid, really.
Yeah, I just recommend her to not be so hands-on with the public, because in cosmetology, you're going to have to be. And
you have to have an online presence, like you said, a reputation. And you don't want to be putting yourself at risk with a license like that if you have so many people that dislike you.
And if you're concerned about people driving by your house right now, imagine when you go to a salon, people are just going to be going into,
or when on your business license, it has your address on it, and 100 people show up, and then your clients can't get in.
Yeah, and if you're worried about people hurting you in your own house, imagine people coming to your salon to hurt you. It's just,
whatever. Who wants to pay for security for a business that's not making money?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a journey for her to find a career. But right now, Lifetime is paying her, and that's, I think, where she's going to be staying for a while, no matter what she says.
I think she'll probably continue the show, even if she doesn't show her baby off. I think she'll probably continue with this blanket situation she has on TikTok.
She accidentally showed the side of her baby. I think she's like accidentally doing that. So this way, when I already accidentally showed my baby, so mine as well. Like, I think she kind of...
Whether it's an on-purpose accident or a real accident, I think you're right. At some point, she's going to have so much flexibility that we're going to see this child's face. She's already on camera with her baby. It's just a matter of a blanket falling. And if your kid's going to fall or the blanket's going to fall off of their face, you're going to choose your kid, and then we're going to see his face. So,
well, she's already choosing to put this baby on live. I mean, you can go live without the baby. And
she just puts this blanket over. And there's times where you see her kind of fumbling around with whatever. And you can see her trying to calculate, do I adjust first or put the blanket over? Like, she's just doing all this stuff. And at some point, she's going to find herself in a situation where she's only going to be able to hold her child, and that face is going to show up. And that's her own risk she's taking by just being live all the time with the baby.
Yeah.
She's
the baby's running around. Are you going to put like a Freddy Krueger mask on it or something so we
like
can't
see Octomom style? Have you guys been watching Octomom? Have you been watching Octomom, or did you just see it on my recording?
No, I watched the movie. I watched the series so far. It's been great.
Yeah. She could Octo toddler her. Maybe just some big glasses. Remember those glasses back in the day? That like 90s glasses they were like pink and blue.
She got like a stroller with a little cover over it. She said for privacy. I saw on her TikTok and stuff like that. So I know she's doing stuff like that, but it's only gonna last so long. Once this kid's walking and big enough to be moving around all the time.
Yeah, if you're still online showing yourself, you're gonna eventually be online showing your kid.
I ain't gonna lie, right now that baby be looking bigger than 2-3 months old. But you know what? We'll see. Possible. And I have heard that the baby looks like Dee Dee, but when I saw that baby from the side, I saw all Ken. But you know what? I'm curious. Well, we will see one day, because there will be a slip up.
The nose is for sure Ken.
I mean, both of them have a big...
I know Gypsy has a big nose, but Ken has that weird indent here that Gypsy don't have, and Ryan doesn't have that either. In my opinion, the nose is for sure Ken. He's got this like someone poked him right there.
We'll see this baby's face soon enough. Gypsy had a great time. She thought that everybody was very receptive to her. They were cheering for her. They were talking kindly to her. And she was really confident when she left there, more so than when she was going there. until she went online and saw some of the things people said, which there's always going to be a few of those. I think that Gypsy is so focused on what's going on online, and I think that's a little strange for the career choice that she's made. You've chosen to put yourself out here in this way. I think you should also, whether it's take a class or consult with somebody about how to kind of, maybe that could have been a good conversation with Kim Kardashian when you were talking to her about how to block it out and how to just live your life and not be so nose in the comments like Ken says. Her nose is constantly in her phone, constantly scrolling through these comments, and you got to have a really thick skin to do this kind of stuff.
No, I totally agree. I think on the other hand, too, maybe so much in this season, but at least when she got out, people seem really emotional about Gypsy. You know, they either really like her or they really hate her. People just have a lot of strong feelings about her. I think stronger than most people in the public eye. And people have so many conspiracy theories, so much so that you and I don't even want to touch it because it's like we'd be talking for 7 hours on YouTube. It's like it'd be morbid. Yes, and there's places to do that. There's so much going on that I do kind of get why it'd be harder for her than maybe a typical celebrity. Gypsy's not a celebrity, but a typical well-known influencer or person or whatever, because there's not that whole layer of misinformation, misconception, whatever. And I'm not saying that people who think she's a bad person are spreading misinformation, but there are literally wild stories about this, even some that it's like, okay, that's very unbelievable, and yet people take it and run with it. I think she faces a particular amount of negative stuff, but I think you're also right. If you're going to be on TikTok, somebody's going to say something mean about you at some point. People say things mean to us on our tiny little YouTube channel. That's just the way it is. You have to have thick skin, but I think she deals with more than anyone could really imagine when it comes to just straight up fake stuff. I could have someone say to me, I don't like you, I think your opinions are wrong, and that's not nice, but I can ignore that. But if someone's out here like, you did this thing and so you're incapable of anything else, no, it's just people are so emotional with her.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard, right now the thing going around is that she doesn't have physical custody of her kid. She just has legal custody, and Ken has physical custody, and that she sees Aurora only when she sees Ken, and that Ken actually has the baby. Which, I mean, there's a few other things with that, but I don't know. It's hard because we don't actually know these things. I mean, they could be getting these from sources, but they're not telling us where their sources are.
Making it up. Yeah.
They're not telling us who their sources are. So who's to know what's actually going on?
And that's exactly my point. People will make up a story, and unless you actually know, you don't know. And I could come on here and say, and I'm not saying this, but yeah, Gypsy hasn't seen her kid in a month, right? And unless I have a source, people who don't like her will believe that, and people who like her will not believe that. And that's the way that it's going to go. So I think for her, she has a lot of people telling a lot of stories that are unprovable. That must be overwhelming.
And some are provable. Some do have some backstory to it, and some do have some legit evidence with that. But yeah, it's a fine line that she's always going to be in because the predicament she put herself in. If she just would have went away quietly after she got out of prison, didn't do these documentaries and this TV show, trust me, her life would be a lot less this.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been maybe a month of this. I know people followed her story beforehand, and so a lot of criminals will sort of have a little pop of infamy when they get out, and then they get swallowed into the abyss. People forgot I'm not saying forgot, but people forgot Casey Anthony existed for a while until she popped back up on TikTok. There are actual Gen Zers who don't know who she is, who had to be warned of this woman. So, you can disappear. Yeah, she should have thicker skin if she's not gonna disappear.
Yeah, I kind of want to message Casey Anthony for some legal advice, see what that bitch has to say.
Legal advice?
That's what she wants us to do, is ask her for legal advice. Email her. That's what she's using her TikTok platform for.
We should have her represent ChickChat.
Oh, I don't know about that. If she went away quietly, it'd be different for her. But yeah, she didn't choose that. So this is where we are, and this is where we're going to stay. So that's like when she complains about being famous and stuff like that, I'm like, girl, you chose this. You could stop your show at any point. I don't think you're locked into anything but a season-to-season contract at this point, because we weren't even sure if there was really going to be a season 2. That's what originally I think was the thing, was that it was just life after lockup, not life years and years and years after lockup.
Life is lifelong now, isn't it?
Before she got released, I think the public perception of her was more positive than it is now. I think the fact that she is showing of her life and everything, and now people are able to latch onto so many different things and so many different inconsistencies and things like that, which make her a whole spectacle, honestly. So
I know. She gets the people going.
She's provocative. It gets the people going. So we see her out in San Francisco on this boat, and she starts getting in her feels because people recognize her, which I do want to say, I lived in San Francisco for a little while. When I moved there, the natives of San Francisco, they don't acknowledge celebrities or known people. So that makes me think that like a boat of tourists, because when I moved there, my uncle told me, you're probably going to see celebrities. If you do, you just don't acknowledge them because they come here to get away from all that. We don't actually go up to them too much or say, we don't make a spectacle of it. We don't shout their names and things like that. Like if you're in line right next to them, you'd be like, oh, hi, like whatever. But you don't have to actually acknowledge them, and you shouldn't, because this is where they go to kind of get away from that. Because LA down there, they're always followed around. Up here, we don't really do that. So that makes me just think that was like a boat of tourists or something that's seen her, because in San Francisco, that really wouldn't be a thing. And I've never seen that be a thing. And I have seen a few celebrities in San Francisco, and no one looked even. Or Lifetime might have put those people in that boat and said, here's Jip Jip.
That's not possible. I could tell. I only noticed this on the third watch, but they're filming her from a different boat. And so I wonder if there's just a lot of attention being drawn too, because there's a literal film crew following another boat of people who probably have lights on them. So it is kind of a spectacle. I mean, whether they're from San Francisco or not, I could see how people who are locals probably would be less fazed, and yet at the same time, they're actively filming a TV show. So
but they're always actively filming something in San Francisco.
Yes, but they weren't following her by any means. When you're on boats, it's common to, hey, everybody waves when you pass by when you're on a boat. It's like culture.
Yeah, the way she reacted to it was just weird to me. Oh, I'm going to get all bunched up.
I think she overdid it. Totally.
Yeah.
Because they literally said hi and they said her name. They obviously knew who she was. She's filming a effing TV show and she's bright blonde.
Because this ain't Louisiana. People in San Francisco see way more famous people than Gypsy Rose out there. That's
well, and this is part of the reason I'm confused, because she probably was being not recognized less, but accosted by people less in San Francisco. So why is she acting so by
it? Content, I think.
Yeah.
To just prove to us that she's an ordinary girl.
I think that day she was an ordinary girl. She was already upset about all the backlash from her thing the day before, and she just wanted to go on a boat where nobody was going to talk to her. And again, nobody chased her down. They just waved like you do on a boat, and then she's all,
let me drink my fake wine.
Yeah, which she made a point to make sure it was fake. Like, duh.
We know we're not that obtuse, I think, but. Yeah, and Ken's like, I've sensed a shift in her. And it's like, well, duh.
I think Gypsy has a lot to work on in therapy when it comes to expressing her emotions in the moment. Right now, it's obvious to everyone else in the world, including Ken, that what just happened made her uncomfortable. Whether that's justified, unjustified, whatever, she felt uncomfortable. And maybe she did, and they just didn't throw this in the footage. But instead of looking at Ken and saying, I feel uncomfortable, I feel insecure, unsafe, whatever, she just, I'm fine. I'm okay. Like, he's asking you over and over and over again, what's going on? What's wrong? I'm trying to figure it out. I'm okay.
Yep.
That's frustrating. She needs to figure out a way to just communicate, and then Ken won't be so insecure. The reason he's pestering her over and over again is because he's insecure too. He's like, oh, did I do something wrong?
Blah, what did I do this time? Did you find another brush or something? Like, what's going on?
The brush of an ex-girlfriend.
Gotta leave the past in the past. They talked to this psychic, which pretty much gave general information. I mean, at least this is what Lifetime is showing us, that they gave pretty general information to what the public already knows about these people, and you can pretty much infer the rest, which, to each their own. I think some psychics have some interesting moments and maybe some credibility, so I'm not going to dog the whole industry, but this lady, I think, knows something about her. Look at her. She looks like she knows a little something.
I would bet money that the producers pulled her aside and said, do you know Gypsy Rose? And if you don't, here are some points to touch on. Here's $50.
Make her a believer.
Make her a believer. So Gypsy was interviewed at the end, and she says that she was a skeptic before, but because she was worried that it was going to be negative. But since it's positive, she's more of a believer now.
Okay, so it's good when it benefits you, but if there's a harsh truth in there, you won't believe it.
Exactly.
Like, what the hell?
They did bring up some spirit guides, questions as to who the other two are out of the three. They did bring up the grandma. I would imagine Dee Dee's probably following her around in some shape or form.
Somewhere. Or she's reincarnating herself in that child of some sort. I would not be surprised.
Possible.
I almost thought that that's really what the lady was getting at with the whole older lady there. And she's like, maybe a grandmother.
Wow. Possible.
Because she can't really be like, your mom is there. That might have just made Gypsy's whole day a million times worse because she's just trying to get rid of that lady at this point.
That's so true.
Poor Ken.
Or Ken.
They go hop on the beach. Is this where he was like complimenting her belly, or was that earlier? He's like, oh my God, the baby's there.
That was before the boat date, yeah.
I was like, this girl be wearing tight stuff all the time. That's all you see is her baby belly. I don't know why.
He was saying he couldn't see her belly because she was in skin tight clothes. And I was like, what?
I know.
Because the dress she was in was flowy. And so maybe he's saying he can't see the belly bump when she's in skin tight clothes because she has her own kind of natural bump other than a baby, you know?
Yeah, like you're normally fat, Gypsy. So
yeah, I think he was, because you know, when you're wearing something blousy and you actually have a baby, it sort of does that cute little bump. But when you're wearing skin tight clothes, you can just sort of see all the stuff. I think that's what he really meant.
Possible.
He likes to low-key give her digs, and I do think it's playful, and I don't think he means anything mean by it, but the Hillary Clinton types of things and all that.
We go to this little dinner with Mia, which I think they just threw in here as filler. Literally, we all just went over this anyways. Mia's just trying to reassure her that it wasn't all bad. I saw some good comments, too.
She makes a good point. It's kind of the point you were making, too, of you're on this public platform. You're going to look at the comments, at least look at some of the positive ones too, because I'm sure there are people out there who are in love with her, but there are people who probably at least just feel neutral about her too, that don't comment such hateful things, you know. Good job. Yes. You think someone maybe says that? I don't know.
There are actually, when I was looking at some of her TikToks today, I did see a couple comments where she was kind of reviewing some baby products and stuff that people were like, you're doing such a good job, you know, whatever. She does get some positive comments. So, I mean, I think it's always going to be mixed, especially for her, but you got to take the good with the bad. And like Mia said, there's going to be some good comments and bad comments. It's good to focus on both. Sometimes you can learn a little something from the bad comments. You know, it's not always digs and things like that. Sometimes it's good to see criticism.
I think there is a good way to get some constructive feedback from the public, but I kind of think with her, she's always going to have a negative skewed opinion. I don't think anyone's ever going to feel positive feelings right away when her name. Which
is why it's going to be good for her to learn to just kind of stay off of it and just focus on what she's got going on in her actual day-to-day life. I think at some point she said she turned off the comments, and maybe that's what she needs to do for a while. And then we get this, which I think made me feel like this was 60 minutes of lies, but okay, so according to Gypsy, a hater was driving by her house when she was home and Christy and Rod were out of town. So she was scared and all these things. But I did a little digging, actually. I was like, so where is this live? I've not seen this live. So apparently the person who admits to this being them talked about on the show is named Ivory Rose. Grows Wild, I think is her actual TikTok account, but her name is Ivory Rose. She is from the Bayou. And what had happened is that Christy went on Mr. Morbid, and apparently there was already beef going on between her and this girl and whatnot. And literally there is audio of Christy on Mr. Morbid saying, I don't believe she's from the Bayou. I'm going to need some receipts about that. She ain't from around here. I don't know her family. I don't blah, blah, blah. She was like going in on this girl. So to prove to Christy that she was from the Bayou, she drove by on the public road. She said she didn't really go right up next to the house or anything. She just drove on the public road and showed Christy, yes, I'm from the Bayou. And honestly, when you hear this girl talk, she sounds just like Christy. She's definitely from the Bayou. There's a specific sounding voice of people from the Bayou, but she did go on her TikTok. So if you guys want to see her break down this episode and all of the lies in this episode or whatever, she does have a 40-minute YouTube video where she literally breaks it down scene by scene on what they got wrong about her whole situation. Apparently, Gypsy wasn't home. She was at the grocery store. And it's also being said that Gypsy and her friend, she's got this friend online on TikTok. I think her name is also Rose or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they went to this girl's work that was 40 minutes away from where Gypsy lives, apparently, and drove by her work as well. So there's some back and forth going on here. Yep. And she's pregnant. At that point,
told us that she's a retaliator, but yeah, Gypsy's pregnant. I don't think that that's a very smart thing to do, especially if you're about to, sounds like in next episode, make a police report about this girl driving by your house. I wonder, does she know for a fact that she was at the grocery store? Or is that just her side of the story? Or
it's been said by this Ivory Rose girl and by Flawless Nina and a couple of other people that Gypsy was at the grocery store with her friend Rose or whoever she's friends with over there that she'd be doing all this weird stuff with. The girl that goes really hard for her on TikTok, I forget her name. If you guys remember her name, put it in the comments. But it's seeming like Gypsy wasn't actually in any danger, which is why she didn't really need Ken to come get her right away and whatnot.
I mean, she waited until at least the next day, because she talked about trying to go to sleep and not sleeping. So, and she said as much. I think I actually took a picture of that one where she said she didn't feel like she's in danger, but she didn't feel safe. And I don't think driving down someone's road is threatening, but I do see where Ken's perspective is of if you put that out online, even if that woman is not threatening her in that moment, you don't know what someone else might go and do, knowing what her house looks like.
But I do think they misrepresented this situation because there is an actual TikTok live on this girl's account. And she's got videos even before this episode ever aired during the time this was all happening of Christy pretty much egging her on to do something.
I've heard Christy back when they were doing all that Mr. Morbid stuff. I've heard Christy on there egging a lot of people on. So I believe that. I guess the only thing I wonder about this, who knows, but if Gypsy doesn't have a car or anything, who's to really know where she's located at any time, whether she's at the grocery store or whatever. But
because her friend took her is why they say that. I guess.
But how do you know that?
It might have been one of those days they took those fruit pictures. Remember they were taking all them fruit pictures at the grocery store? Possible.
She's in there with watermelons and cantaloupes and someone's driving by her damn house.
I'm just reporting on what I've seen on the talk because I went down a little rabbit hole because I wanted to see the video.
Yeah, Anne was on a rabbit hole. She sent me like a scrollable message of TikToks.
I wanted to see the actual video of the girl driving by because I'm like, well, if this was so popular, why have I not seen it? You know, because I've seen a lot of the more popular situations like this. I didn't see the whole drive-by because she had so many videos.
You had a playlist of like 70 videos.
And
I also say get a life. You know, you probably have a high following on TikTok, and so I probably don't even know what I'm talking about because this probably is your life. But damn.
I feel like it's one thing to post about her a lot. And I mean, look at us. We were posting about her. We're talking about her. So I'm not going to
one day out of the week to watch a show that's already being aired. I feel like it's a whole other thing what this girl's doing.
There's the Flawless Nina and other people like that who it's just video after video after video. And it's not like it's other celebrities in there too. Yes, there's a few. Like I've seen her talk about a few other people, but it's mostly Gypsy. I mean, whatever. Get your bag how you got to get your bag.
I'm not judging people either, really, but it just feels like excessive at some point.
And sometimes we get good information from those people. You know, we've heard some things before they came out from those people. So they do have some sources. So I'm not trying to dog that at all. It's just seems like people are very invested, especially at this time. We're very invested in what was going on here. But I do agree with them in a sense that Gypsy just shows us what she wants us to see. I don't think that all of this is exactly how it is presented. And I think Lifetime wants us to feel bad for her. She's vulnerable. She's pregnant. She's just this victim at this point. Like they're trying to really turn this perception of her around. And what better way to do that than show that all these haters are crazy. They're coming to hurt me.
You can't have a reality show where the sole focus person of the reality show is a super hated person. Like even during the R. Kelly documentary, they tried to give us that whole, oh, well, this was his childhood and this is what he wants. They have to give you two sides to the story kind of thing. There's no way.
There is that.
There is.
But two things can be true at once. And
sure. And people have to make their own decisions about how they want to feel about people, how they want to judge them. So,
but I do think this drive-by situation wouldn't have ever happened if Christy did egg people on because I heard that Mr. Morbid video and it was just, she was really trying to challenge me outside. She said, I want the receipts. I want to see receipts. This girl from Louisiana, she was trying to say she don't know what a traitor is. And then this girl goes online and explains exactly what a traitor is. If you're saying it in a good way, it's basically like blessing someone in a good way. And if you're saying it in a negative way, it means it's like a curse or like go hail kind of thing. And she's like, and I know when Christy said that to me, she did not mean it in a good way. So apparently this girl is from the Bayou, and I can't believe Chrissy would even question that after hearing this girl's voice because, man, it sounds just so much like Christy's little twangs here and there.
I know.
She's 20 minutes from them, but and that's what she was just trying to prove, I think, to Christy. Was like, I do know what I'm talking about with the Bayou. I'm from the Bayou. Well, you ain't from the Bayou. I want to see receipts. Well, we'll drive by your house, bitch.
I never said Bayou so much in my damn life.
And if you guys want to look into that more, that girl does have a YouTube video about this episode. I do find it all interesting. I mean, you can't always believe everything you see on TV as well. I do think there's two sides to that story, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. But
I agree. People should, we should hear Gypsy's recollection. We should hear this lady's recollection. I think that's how you make your most informed decision. And that doesn't mean your decision is correct. Because again, we don't know nothing about nothing. None of us were there. But that's how you make the most informed decision. You should hear.
But we do know that Christy and Gypsy talked to these people online. They were talking to Crystal Ball a lot. They were, they get involved with these people. So it's not a stretch for them to be their own undoing, honestly, when it comes to these people. If you got haters out there, don't engage with them. Just leave it be. That's the best way to navigate that, is to just move along. But in the situation, like if we want to go off Gypsy's story, let's say all this was exactly how it happened. It is concerning because having your address and stuff out there are stalkers and things like that happen to celebrities. There are people who try to off celebrities. There are people who've been successful in offing celebrities. I mean, I think it was Miranda Cosgrove, I think, had a stalker that ended up offing himself in her backyard while he was trying to wait to off her or something like that. So like there's all kinds of scary stories. I remember keeping up with the Kardashians when Kris Jenner got all those pizzas delivered and she freaked out. At the time I was like, girl, I would hate the pizzas. But now, 10 years later or whatever, I'm like, she did the right thing by freaking out and throwing those things out, because you don't know what could be in there. Even if it comes straight from the pizza place, you still don't truly know what's going on. It is a scary situation, but at the same time, I do kind of side eye this particular situation. Not saying that some weird things are not happening probably to her, maybe threats being sent to her and things like that, which isn't cool. Like, what's the point of, if you're upset about somebody's crime and everything and what they did, what's threatening them say about you? I mean, you're just as bad if you're saying that somebody needs to go off themselves or whatever. You're not really any better. You're not choosing the high ground.
That's for sure.
But anyways, Ken is not exactly worried for a minute, but then he talks to Lifetime for about 5 minutes and he's like, I'm going to pick her up. Never mind.
He talks himself into being a little more worried.
Yeah, he was trying to clean his kitchen for about 5 minutes and he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll go get Gypsy. She'll clean this.
Will she?
She does. We've seen her clean out many a kitchen.
True. You're right. Mm-hmm. I've never seen her clean as much.
Throw
things away. Don't know if I've seen her do it. She'll make it look clean.
Trash man would be a great career for her. It would. I think we found it. Trash man, recycle man.
The trash woman on the job.
I think that's the key.
She loves to get rid of trash. Or she could open a business and trash removal.
Or cleaning business if she loves cleaning so much.
Like help the hoarders' houses. She could go in there and just get up the brush of an ex-girlfriend.
That would be perfect. Leave the past in the past. Let's throw it all away. Mm-hmm. That's what she could call her business. Leave the past in the past.
Yeah. She could call it disregarded.
I love that for her. I think that's
we should send her a business plan.
We should. I don't know if she would read it. Well, she does keep her nose in her phone, like Ken said. So let's try it. Gypsy, if you're seeing this, trash removal, cleaning service, something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Disregard.
Well, Chick Chat, Miss Ant did just recently make us a TikTok for our Chick Chat. Maybe we could clip this and tag her in it or something. Is that how TikTok works?
Yep, we can try it.
We could try it.
Right now, I just have the what I think is my favorite video so far of Ryan and the hands and everything. But it's also one of our YouTube shorts. But I'll start adding some of our shorts that are on here, maybe on there too.
Yeah, but go ahead and give us a follow over on TikTok if you're on TikTok and help us grow a little bit over there.
It's brand new, so don't judge us. We're not really TikTok.
One video right now, so no comments, just likes.
Just likes. Nothing negative. Support for Ryan, if anything. But anyways.
Yeah, he's gonna come and get her. She's gonna pack her things. I thought that conversation was so weird. He calls and he's like, "I'm just gonna come get you now." Okay, I'll pack my suitcase. I'll be ready. She's just so I can't.
Damsel in distress.
Yeah,
ready to go.
Yeah, and I thought that this was funny. Not that I'm holding this against her, but she's over here saying she doesn't do anything, so why bother her? Lady, 5 days ago, you were on a stage talking about prison reform, and I think that's what you should be doing. I'm not personally mad at you for that, but you are out here doing things. If you stayed in your house, people maybe weren't so riled up. Same way if you didn't show a TV show to everybody, people wouldn't be so riled up. So you do be doing things, Gypsy, even if with the best of intentions. Just the fact that you're out here, I'm sorry, makes people angry. So as a result, people gonna tell you they're angry.
Exactly.
So next time, Chrissy's going to call the cops and I'm guessing make a police report about the situation that we just discussed, which makes me wonder about filing a false police report. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if Gypsy was in the house or not. It's really the filming of the house on a public platform, I think, is their problem.
Is that even anything you can really do anything about? I don't think your house has rights or anything like that.
I don't think so. I think if she were to go out there and maybe had said something in front of the house, like, this is where Gypsy lives, y'all come out here and stir it up or whatever. But I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think she was out there encouraging people to come out there. But it's not the same thing, but I think it could go along the lines of libel, defamation. Like you're kind of insinuating people to go do bad against somebody.
I don't think really Christy's gonna have a leg to stand on here. All this girl did was drive by the house and take a video just to prove she was on the bayou, and then she can just come through and say, well, Christy told me to come through and show her some receipts that I'm from the bayou. That's all it would take. And on top of that, she didn't actually trespass, step foot on their property. I think that would be a different thing, is if she was knocking on the door or standing in the yard or something like that. Like she drove by in her car. We're all able to drive by people's houses in our car.
But she recorded it on a live and let someone know where a public figure lives. Maybe she could be trying to build a case for harassment. Probably not in that moment right there. She was being harassed. You do have to sort of build a paper trail for harassment, and that would be harassment.
But Ken and Gypsy both say in this episode that this address is public knowledge. So is it really doing anything? I mean, unless she's really
antagonizing. So the address is public knowledge, and yet the public is not driving by all the time, because we all know socially that's not the right thing to do, nor record it for all of our followers. So that's why I feel like when it becomes harassment, the typical person is not taking time out of their day to drive by and film it like she is. Now, I know she was called out by Chris, but I think that that's where some of it could maybe be
dicey.
Wrong. Yeah, I don't think wrong per se. I think that's borderline harassment, inappropriate.
I agree.
She could have like driven by the neighbor's house 6 houses down, or the street sign, or
and maybe that's all she did. I truly don't know, because I didn't see the actual video.
I think they were saying she showed the house. I think that that was the big deal.
But the house is also on Lifetime all the time too. So really just seeing the house isn't really going to.
It is. Yeah.
I think really they don't have a leg to stand on with that. I think Chrissy really be shooting herself in the foot by going online and arguing with people and trying.
Was dumb. Yeah.
That was really dumb of her. And that's the reason this even happened in the first place. And they don't acknowledge that on the show, which conveniently. But yeah, that's where I'm on the fence with this. But I do think it's weird to drive by someone's house. But I also think Chrissy antagonized it to happen. So it's like,
I do agree. I think if anything,
both wrong.
Yeah, at best, what Christy's going to be able to do with the police at her house is probably just start to establish a paper trail, so that if something else happens, there's already some documentation that there's been trouble with this lady. So that's probably the best she's going.
Not here.
She really like went crazy, but
lady, calm down.
So more things for next episode, other than the police, is that Gypsy does inform Ken that the baby will be an Anderson until the paternity is established. And I don't know if this is what makes them another hand. I don't know if this is what makes them go run and get a paternity test almost right away, because they do also talk about going to get that the following week or something. So that's probably going to be much of the episode.
And if you're for sure that's someone else's baby, and if I was Ken and I'm for sure that's my baby, I would want to know beforehand, so this way I can hopefully get that on the birth certificate. You know, it's being said and alleged, whatever, that the baby's name right now as it stands is Anderson, which would make sense because Gypsy did say in a recent interview with her and Ken about the show or whatever that the only thing that they're still litigating right now is paternity stuff. So probably to change this baby's name. Yeah.
Why is that so caught up? Isn't her divorce finalized?
Yeah, her divorce got finalized in December, but the only thing that they're wrapping up, I think, is just this paternity stuff.
After a paternity test in utero, after a paternity test, I'm sure.
Well, I think they had to do one after, so that might be what they were talking about. Yeah,
and it has only been 3 months, and sometimes these things are slow. But I don't know. That makes me give the side eye majorly. Why would it be such a thing?
Litigation does take a while. You know, Ryan might have even put it off for a little bit, trying to live in a world of his own and everything. But I think that they had to get all 3 people involved. Or the first paternity test was just Ken and her, which did confirm, anyways. But a lot of people think that test was rigged or faked or whatever. I mean, it's good to just get one through the court regardless to settle the situation. But I think they did that in hopes of being able to name the baby whatever at birth. But, Gypsy's last name right now is legally Anderson. So I don't know. According to Louisiana law.
Louisiana law is treacherous. I'll tell you, you probably won't catch me living there. Not that I plan to be doing the things that Gypsy's out here doing, but you probably won't catch me living there.
Yeah, the bayou is not for everybody.
The bayou ain't for me.
But yeah, we'll see you next time, Chick Chat. We'll get more into detail about all this paternity stuff. We got some thoughts, that's for sure.
Lots of thoughts.
Remember to like and subscribe and share and leave us some comments. Say whatever you got to say. If you got any information about this whole little incident today, I would call it little 60 minutes of lies or whatever's going on over here. But we'll see. Drop us a comment. Click the share button.
Click the copy link.
And then also keep an eye out for our other content. And we will see you next week. Reduce, reuse, recycle, Rihanna, and goodbye, and stay away from the bayou. Stay away from the bayou.
Yes, don't record too. No recording.
Don't be recording the bio. Don't be going over there. It's not worth it.